currency, better than your currency. Splurging millions, buying houses like Monopoly. Fucking 9 to 5, man, the money is a joke to me. Buying cryptocurrency, my money in the privacy. I make it rain dollars, they watch me disappear. I'm so fly, man, I'ma need some...
Hey guys and girls, welcome to this week's episode of the B.Invested Birchy podcast. I'm your host, Nathan Birchy. This is a show unraveling the truth to the facade of the 21st century. We're now exiting the matrix and waking up to motherfucking reality. Today I want to talk about something, and it's not haters, right? It's just comments I've seen out there, right? And the comments I'm talking about is we post properties up, right? We post up our hot deals on Facebook and Instagram and stuff. So if you're new around here or you're just listening to us on the podcast, we've got the B.Invested Facebook and Instagram pages, specifically the Instagram page. It's very important because we put up deals and little reels of videos of properties that we've been securing, and I just filmed like 100 videos of little properties. They're like 1 minute videos of properties that I bought in the last year or two, and I'm out in front of them and I'm like, here's a property I bought for someone for 100 grand and we've revalued it for 200, or here's a property that we've bought and it's it's 200 grand and rents for $400 a week and we've pulled out 50k equity, and we post these things up. And I was talking to the team and they're like, people like write, like I see it occasionally, I don't go onto the social media that much of that, but when I go on there, people are like, you can't buy a property for that, this must be in the middle of nowhere, they're lying, they're a scammer, they're trying to take your money, they're trying to say there's a property, you can't buy it and stuff like that. And it's funny because I'm like, shit, I've seen this stuff for years, right? People used to write on posts when I'd be in the news and stuff, and they'd say, oh, this guy's got mummy and daddy's money and this person must have had inheritance or whatever the case may be. And it's funny because people are so quick to judge about like why you can't do something, but they're not thinking about, fuck, if they're saying that they can, like, tell me more about it, right? And I get it, right? Like, the world's full of scams and stuff like that, so you need to be very conscious of that. But it's like, if I see something, like I remember when I first heard about Bitcoin, right? And I'll tell you a story about that. You might have heard it beforehand, but I was at the pub, I think it was the Gold Coast Casino with a mate, and it was like lunchtime or something, we having some food, having a couple of drinks, and my mate said, oh, I've got this thing called Bitcoin, I'll buy the drink on a card. And I was like, a Bitcoin? And then he told me something about it. I said, mate, that sounds like barter card, right? Barter card is like some thing from the night, I don't even know what it is, right? But it was like some network where people, traded their services and shit. And I think it was to save taxes and stuff like that. But he told me about it. I was like, oh, it sounds like a scam. And he said he needed 10 grand, and he needed 10 grand to do a build that he was doing at the time. I was like, you've got this Bitcoin, you put 2 grand in, it's worth 10. I'd sell the fuck out of it. You can go get it out and pay for your beer that you're going to buy or whatever he's drinking. Can't you just go and do that? And then he sold it, and I didn't even know what Bitcoin was, and it was like $500 a coin. And then 6 months later, I saw him buy it again, and I went, oh, I'll chuck $500 or $1,000 in and got something, because I was just bored, and it felt like it was like a little gamble for me. It was just a little hit. I was like, wow, what's this thing here, right? And it doubled overnight, right? And I was like, fuck, I just turned 500, I think it was 1,000 into 2,000. I was like, wonder what this is, and I looked into it, and then I knew what Bitcoin was. It was back in about 2016 or something, 2015, something like that. And I was quick to laugh at it, right? And I was quick to dismiss it, and I was quick to, there's so many scams out there. If we're talking crypto, I've been screwed on lots of them, right, over the years. But I see people sit there and they say, you can't buy a property for 100 grand. You can't buy a property for 200 grand. You can't buy a block of land for $5,000, right? I actually saw one, I missed it. I don't know how I missed it. I went into some sold data, and I saw that there was a council rate sale recently where $25,000 got like 6 blocks of land, right? And I was like, fuck, like I'd normally be on something like that, right? I just missed it. So yeah, like you can get these deals out there. It's 2023, 2024, it's summer of that season, whenever this podcast goes out. But, you can get those deals, right? And people are so quick to judge and say, well, you can't do it. You can't build 10 plus properties. And I think just a very bad self-limiting belief. I don't even think people are trying to be haters. I don't think they're trying to be spiteful. I actually just think it's a gap of their knowledge that they don't perceive it as being even a near reality, right? It's like seeing someone with a Lamborghini. You don't go to the servo and see someone pumping up the Lamborghini. You wouldn't sit there and think, oh, this person here, there must be a doctor or a CEO or a whatever. You normally think drug dealer, gangster, whatever, right? It's because it's outside the world of fathoming what it could possibly be. So it must just be something that's bad. So, yeah, looking at building out a portfolio, people just see the news and they're confined to the little bubble. They don't see, okay, they might be in Sydney and going, well, a unit cost me 800 grand or a house cost $1.5 million with a house with no eaves on it. I went for a walk the other day, and I was with a mate of mine, and I've got a pool. I'm building a pool, and the pool is 200 grand, right? And the pool is like 250, 300 square meters of pool, right? This thing's fucking massive, right? But if I put a little pool in my house, it's going to look weird, so I need to put a big pool. First world problems, I know. Right, and we're walking, and I was like looking at this house, right? And I was in Kellyville, right? For those of you in Sydney that know Kellyville, and a house and land there, like this off like $1.5 million or something, and the house had no fucking eaves on it, right? I took a photo of it, right? It's the funniest thing. Maybe we could put a photo of it up on if you watch the video, you can put a photo of it up of this house, right? It's got no eaves, and there's a street of them with no eaves. There's no driveway out the front. You have to go through the back of the property and shit. And I was like, I'm building a pool the size of someone's house, right? It's not my thing of saying how cool it is or whatever. It kind of is, but it's not. My point being is that I'm only like 10 minutes down the road and I can buy, I'm in the process of buying a block of land. It's 25 acres in Sydney. I'm going to make sure I exchange this contract before this goes out. But it's about 1 kilometre from a development, like a major Englobo site where they're building houses like this, like the Kellyville, not at Kellyville, but it's like it. 25 acres, $2.2 million for 25 acres. So that's 25 times 4,000. So it's 100,000 square meters of land. If the average block, let's say they're on 1,000 square meters, it'd be like 100 blocks of land, but that wouldn't be. You could fit maybe 200 houses, and in the next 5 years that land's going to be gobbled up. My point being is, like, why would someone buy a house with no eaves on it? We can buy a house on fucking 100 blocks of land, a few suburbs over or whatever, and have that massive upside, right? I don't know where I was going with this, right? I digress. But looking at it, like, people think it's impossible. I know where I was going, right? People think that all they can buy is a house, right? Their mindset is so focused on everyone's got a house with no eaves, so I must have a house with no eaves. Everyone's trapped in a unit, I must be stuck in a unit, right? No one's thinking, well, fucking who lives out on the acreage out there? Who lives a few doors over? Who lives a few suburbs over, right? Looking at alternatives. So most people are trapped in the parameters of what they see, right? You get up at 7 in the morning, brush your teeth, do your hair, go in the train, go to the city, get out of your job, get back in at 5 o'clock, get back home at 7 o'clock at night, you're tired, you're doing dinner, whatever the case may be. You don't have time to sit there and go, fuck, let's go and look at this, let's go and look at that. So you're confined with your environment that's around you. So whether that's physical environment or mental environment, and you need to look outside of that. It's like, if I couldn't find a property in Australia that would be under, 200, 300, 400 grand, I'd have to go and start changing my strategy. I might even look at different country, right? I don't like buying properties in other countries. I own 0 properties outside of Australia. I do not transact outside of Australia, right? So if everyone gets there and says, oh, Birchy's going overseas, I'm not. I'd have no intention, right? But if I had to, I didn't want to go and buy in the depths of Western Australia. I didn't want to have to go and buy in Cairns, right? I didn't want to have to go and buy in different locations, but I didn't want to buy in Adelaide. I just wanted to buy in Sydney when I first started, and that's what I did. And then I couldn't do that anymore, and I had the option of saying, I can't buy a house in Sydney, I better give up now, or I could be going, hey, there's other opportunities here, there, wherever. So the people that are thinking it's impossible, or that you can't think that you can buy a property for 200 grand, 300 grand, 100 grand, why do you think that? The people that don't think you can buy 10 properties in 2024. Why do you think that? Is it because no one else has done it? Is it because you haven't done it? Is it because you haven't seen someone do it? Like, what is holding you back? What is the mindset? Because it needs to be, I think that the thing that's holding them back is just the information that's going on in their head, their knowledge base, and you need to be asking questions. So if anything's been taught in the last 3 going on 4 years in the world is critical thinking is not a questionable thing, right? Everyone obeys with blind faith and doesn't think outside the box. And I think that, being able to, I'm not saying everyone, but the masses, right? The 80% of the people, just go, okay, yep, that's what reality is. It's been told to me. It's what it must be. So, but there is people, right? If you think about it, on your way to work today or on your travels throughout the last week, you've driven past buildings that you haven't even acknowledged, right? Here's something that's just really random, right? My office here is worth like $2.5 million, right? I've got a really big issue at the moment, and it's that we're growing as a business and we're trying to find office space, right? And our office space, it's fucking expensive. It's like ridiculous, right? I look at what I buy in different capital cities, like office space and all that sort of stuff, and I can get a nice, attractive, big 1,000 square metre building, right? I need 1,000 square metres where we are, right, for all our team in our head office. And for a 250 square metre office, you're looking at $2.5 million. It's like 10 grand a square metre. And I tell people that, and they're like, bullshit, your office is worth $2.5 million. I'm like, I promise you, like, look, and it's my stupidest asset, right? If you ask me, like, what my I don't want to buy this asset is, it's my office, right? I've got other offices which I get like 10 times the size for half the price, right? And in my office, I'm like, what can I don't want to spend $10 million on an office, right? So, yeah, that's just like my little thing, right? So then I think about, if my office, which is 250 square metres, is worth 2.5 mil, there's like 10 offices on my level, right? So that means the level of my office is worth $25 million, right? And if the building's 3 stories or 4 stories tall, it's worth $75 million, $100 million, right? For the size of the building. Then it makes you think, well, if the building's worth $100 million, right, what's the land worth under it? What's the bricks worth? What's all that? And there's just one. I've got the shittest office building in the whole park where we are, right? There's much bigger and better and nicer ones, right? Some of them are 6 stories tall. Some of them are 10. There's a nice office on the other side of our lake, which is like 20 stories tall, right? And you think, how much would 20 stories of fucking office be worth? Is that $500 million, right? But for me to get around the lake, there's like 10 more office buildings in between that, right? So if I just walked around the lake of my office building, there would be like $5 billion worth of building, right? And that's before I open my car and drive home, right? Or the shopping centre that's near us, right? So the thing is, it's like, who owns that? How did it become to be, right? I don't own an office tower like that. I want to own stuff like that. I just want to keep expanding and growing, and I'm inquisitive like a child. But most people, as a child, they get put into at 5 years old, they get put into a 12-year indoctrination camp to become a good slave, slap out all the creative thinking, obey without questioning, all those things. So looking around you, I think, okay, who the fuck owns this? When someone says, oh, look at this or whatever, it's like, who are the powers that control that, right? It's just critical thinking and questioning that. So to be able to break free, you only know at the level of the game that you're playing on. So when people sit there and go, oh, you can't buy it, or it wouldn't be in Sydney, or whatever, it's like, okay, you can laugh at it, you can do whatever, but what are you doing about it, right? Like 90, people say, this isn't even to do with this, right? People say about, no tenant's going to rent that property, right? Or whatever the case may be, like just an opinion. I've got little properties in little tiny regional towns. My best performing motel that I have, my favourite motel, is in a little place called Proserpine, right? It's like a little farming town, right? I fucking love that place, right? It's the best one, right? Just keeps printing out money. Another one called Innisfail. I've never even heard of these places before. I have, but like, you wouldn't have heard of them, right? Most people wouldn't have heard of them, but they're packed out, right? Because there's a lot of people there. There's a big demand there. There's, lack of stock. But most people would say it would be hard to get a tenant. When you sit there and think, is it hard to lease out this property? But then when you sit there and look at all the data of the people that think it's impossible, it's too risky, you can't do it, whatever the case is, there's so many people throwing their hands up going, I don't want to get into debt, we're in a recession, we're into this, that, the next thing. You know, there's so many people with a bad mindset that's stopping themselves. Like, nothing's stopping. Like, you could literally, like, if you're on the bottom income, the most averagest fucking income in the country, you would be able to still buy something for 150 grand. I bought my first property for 250 grand on, what was my income? Like 40 grand income? Like, expand the horizon. So many people watching be like, oh yeah, you know, I've only got 40 grand, but you think I can buy something? Like, there's opportunity, like, it'll at least be told by 200 banks, right? In this country, there's like hundreds of banks, like 300 banks, lenders that you could use, right? At least be told by 50 of them that you can't do shit before you start going, hey, I can't do anything, right? You want to be seeking that opportunity. Like, if you haven't been rejected from 50 different banks yet, we ain't fucking tried hard enough to reach your goals. Your goals, you know, you haven't been committed enough to be able to do that. So I think people give up too easy, just from a knowledge, from a mindset. I don't know what it is, right? I'm just trying to dissect it and look at it and go, well, why do people think you can't buy it? Because ultimately, you know, there's thousands of people that are buying properties like this every year that we help out and are a part of and whatnot. There's tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of those transactions occurring every year out there in the market. So naturally, people are, you know, making decisions, right? It's just not you, because you haven't got yourself ready to be able to make that decision. There's so many times, if you think back through your life, how many things did you have an opinion of, but it didn't go down like that, right? And it's important to just keep trying to expand and whatnot. And I always say to people, I'll wrap up because it's a bit of a rant, but it's a bit of mindset, just thinking, right? And being a bit more creative. Like, the opinions don't pay the bills, right? What was the last thing you had the opinion on? Like, people say to me, I get message from people at our Christmas party, right? At our Christmas party the other week, people came along and, like, my investors that have been helping out for years and stuff, mixture of all different people. And I had a few people ask me, I called it out on the stage when we were chatting, and they're like, oh, are you okay, Nathan? Is business okay for you? I hope you're doing okay in business. And I'm like, my business is doing the best they've ever fucking done, right? What are you talking about? Oh, because the interest rates or whatever. I was like, hang on a second. Interest rates is affecting some people out there, right? But when you're buying a property for 200 grand or 150 grand, that's renting for 300 bucks a week, and the rent goes up from 300 to 400, it's positive 100 bucks a week. Yeah, the interest rate goes up by 2% or 3% or 4% or whatever of 100 grand, 200 grand. It's fuck all, right? The rent increases are far exceeding what the thing is. So when I look at it like that, there's lots more people. I've always talked about recession-proof property portfolio, right? That's buying the assets that are recession-proof. And we're in a recession out there, probably technically, right? And when we're looking at the assets that are out there, people can't afford maybe that $1 million loan that they could be for, but they could afford a $300,000 purchase. So people are lowering the thing. So it's putting a lot of pressure into that market. It's not always the case. 5, 6, 7 years ago, I said, hey, we're going in for a big recession, right? And prices are going to fall and certain things are going to happen. And I had people that are in the industry saying, Birchy, why would you say this? Because that's what my data has led me to see, is that this is going to occur. So I'll call it for what it is. But the perception that people have is interest rates going up, so the market must be crashing, or this or that or the next thing. And it's not always the case. Sometimes it is, right? But it's not. So when you're sitting there thinking something can't be done, or it's like, well, if it is happening, who's doing it? Why are they doing it? I'll talk about the evil globalists and the banking cabal and the controlling, ruling elites. And sometimes people go, oh, I hate them, whatever. I've never once said I hated them. I just say, I know what they're fucking doing. I'm envious from it. I look at it and go, well, that's fucking pretty cool, right? How do we level up to get to the next level? How can we play the game they're playing? How can we participate in what the rules are? Because that's the opportunity that's laid out for us with our monetary supply, our system we're designed in, and we're not. But people are so trapped because their mindset, their education level, their knowledge base, and being closed off, right? And I think George Carlin said it the most. It's like, just leave me alone. There's a video of him, right? And he's there going on a rant, talking about like life's bad, like, just leave me with it. They're not happy. People aren't happy, but they're too scared to even leave, to even lose what they don't even like, right? So, yeah, anyway, I will leave it at that. Just my thoughts on it. Opportunities are always out there. I've seen pros and cons for buying stuff over 20 years now. I've been buying for over 20 years. I've seen reasons to buy, reasons not to buy. There'll always be pros and cons out there. So make sure you're doing the best thing you can to improve your life. Make sure 2024 is your best year. If you need help with kicking ass in 2024, reach out to us, 1300 367 925. Email us at B.Invested.com.au, or subscribe, share the video around, and keep watching us on Apple Play, Google Play, Spotify. Have a great day. Bye for now.
Like Bilal said, man, we're stuck in the matrix. This my advice, don't care if you take it. The dollar back to die, soon to be hyperinflated. This my 2 cents, don't care if you save it. Joint be decentralized and you will see. You been lied to the whole time, and it's the irony, cause they do the exact opposite. You become a slave to the system, enough your money, all they do is profit. There's no conspiracy theory, you better hear me. Crypto will set you free before the system does. I don't care if you do or you don't, but what I'm saying is the truth to the reason you choke. I've never been a failure, excuse my behavior. Keep talking, haters doing me a favor. They all telling lies, I know what they been telling you. I'm the opposite, the Donald Trump of Australia. It's amazing, here for the taking. My time is never wasted, just getting wasted. These girls say I'm really breathtaking. I can't help it.